Hello listeners, and welcome back to ND 5.18. And as always, I am your host, Ender. This will be the second part in our dual color breakdown, and we'll be going Selesnya today. The combination of white and green. Now the formatting here will be a little bit different, but I believe that you'll enjoy it. So without further ado, let's get started. Here's the diagram, as always. And now, threats and answers. Selesnya. Now, Selesnya has a bad habit of being generic. Let's talk about it. Everyone knows it as life gain, enchanters, +1/+1 counters, tokens, ramping, stacks. And then at a base level, it can do equipment, recursion, even some tribal. But that's so much. Like, you may think, oh, that's variety, but they give you the building blocks to build each of these things. And it's really good, and it will be a very strong deck, but it's not touching the hidden potential of Selesnya. There's just so much potential, and that is the goal of this. These are all the things Selesnya is amazing at, and it's a good list, as I stated. But why isn't Selesnya the top deck? Why isn't it like a mainstay in a lot of formats? It can do all these things, but it just has an inability to remain at the top. It can even keep its opponents honest. Like a lot of these other combinations can't do that, because they're too busy doing unfair things themselves. But don't worry, we're going to try to answer that. Now here are a few examples of commanders for those of you, playing that format, and Selesnya versions of each of the things I listed. From Trelasara, with whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Trelasara and scry 1. It based off incremental life gain. To sit this, harvest hand, whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you gain 1 life and draw a card. To Hamza, the +1/+1 counters. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature controlled with the +1/+1 counter on it. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. To tokens and Queen Lenal of Rudak. Her power and toughness is each equal to the number of creature you control. If 1 or more creature tokens will be created under your control, those tokens plus a 1/1 white soldier creature token is created. To Kara Metra with her ramping, and we're indestructible as long as your devotion of green and white is less than 7 is a creature. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you may search your library for a forest or plains card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. To the stacks variation in Gaddock Teague, non-creature spells with converted mana cost 4 or greater can't be cast. Non-creature spells with X in their mana cost can't be cast. To Danitha, New Benali's Light, with her equipment recursion synergy. She has Vigilance, Strength, or Lifelink. Once during each of your turns, you may cast an aura or equipment spell from your graveyard. Selesnya does all these things. There's so many different ways to build it. But once again, they're all kind of, formatted for you. None of this is unique. There are entire areas of Selesnya dedicated to each of these things. So though you have variety, you are still in the generic playhouse. Continuing on. Though Selesnya is known for its threats and answers, it has plenty of subtle nuances to it. In this segment here, pushing power. Temporary or permanent power additions abound throughout so many different spells in Selesnya, along with temporary protection, keyword adding, creatures that also have these pump effects or other temporary effects, and the strength that I really like to shine light on here, the forced favorite combat situations. And you see these abilities in Join Shields, which honestly, each of these cards I believe should be run in your variation of Selesnya, with the added knowledge of what will work best for you though. So here's Join Shields. Untap all creatures you control. They gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Then there's Uncrop Champion. You may exert Uncrop Champion as it attacks. When you do, untap all other creatures you control. An exerted creature won't untap during the next untap step. That's all it means to exert. Then there's Pledge of Unity. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. You gain 1 life for each creature you control. An oldie but a goodie in Reclamation. No black creature can attack unless its controller sacrifices a land whenever that creature attacks. Now these are the favored combat situations here. In Miri, Weatherlight Duelist, she has first strike. Whenever she attacks, each opponent can't block with more than 1 creature. As long as she is tapped, no more than 1 creature can attack you each combat. And Dueling Grounds, no more than 1 creature may attack each turn. No more than 1 creature may block each turn. Now we're moving on to Creation. Their thing, their little niche here is the token generation. And though that is one type of theme you can run with this color pairing here, I still recommend it being a sub theme in any deck that you're running, because Selesnya is full of the most onboard token generator effects out there. But remember, these creatures are not just for combat, they're resources, as you'll see here. And also Selesnya has the ability to go get real creatures instead of just relying on tokens. We have Ironroot Warlord, power equal to the number of creatures you control. Tap 5, create a 1/1 white soldier. We have Torrens, Fist of the Angels, has training. This is whenever this creature attacks with another creature with greater power, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 1/1 green and white human soldier token with training itself. Now, a benefit of all these bodies entering the board is Aura Shards. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment. That's always a plus. Then we have Battle for Bedegaard, a saga. The first level is create a 1/1 white human warrior token. The second level is create a 1/1 green elf warrior token. And the third one is choose any number of artifact tokens and or creature tokens you control with different names. For each of them, create a token that's a copy of it. Just boom, stacking with the generation effects. There's plenty of these that are actually better than this as well. Then we go to Catilda, Dawnheart Prime. She has protection from werewolves. That may be relevant to you, may not. Human creatures you control have tap them, add 1 mana of any of this creature's colors, which is green and white for her specifically, but also for each human that you make, add a mana that is one of them. You can tap 6 and tap her, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. And one of the creature search spells I like to spotlight is Congregation at Dawn. Search your library for up to 3 creature cards and reveal them. Shuffle your library, then put those cards on top of it in any order. There's some that put it directly into your hand as well. Now, let's talk about Selesnya's state in the game. Now, across the board, people can agree that this is a strong pairing, right? I mean, it's known as Angels and Pioneer. Heliod combo is a thing in Modern. Yeah, it's a thing. You can run that common commander decks plenty. You'll always find like a decent life gain deck that could benefit from being green and white. But besides that, like, it doesn't really, you don't have the necessary to just hang with any of the strong decks. Like Murktide, Selesnya can't hang with that. Sheoldred, Selesnya is having a hard time hanging with that. Like, Scam will always pick your hand apart regardless. So it's kind of showing that it's strong in quotation marks. I think this may make it the weakest combination, because even if you put anything with blue in it, at least blue has counter spells. I do wonder, why is it that this is still one of the weakest combinations, even though it can do so many amazing things? Look at this. Sigarda, Host of Herons, Flying, Hexproof. Spells and abilities your opponent's control can't cause you to sacrifice permanents. Then we have Satsuki, the Living Lore. Put a lore counter on each saga you control. Activate only as a sorcery. When it dies, choose up to 1. Return target saga or enchantment creature you control to its owner's hand. Return target saga card from your graveyard to your hand. Then there's Polukranos Reborn. Has reach. Has pay 6 and a Phyrexian white. Transform Polukranos. Activate only as a sorcery. Becomes a reach and lifelink 6/6, stating whenever Polukranos Engine of Ruin or another non-token Hydra you control dies, create a 3/3 green and white Phyrexian Hydra creature token with reach, and a 3/3 green and white Phyrexian Hydra creature token with lifelink. And now it's time for the Planeswalker. And it's a Johnny Go to me. I don't know who you all expected outside of him. I mean, he has 5 Planeswalkers in Selesnya alone, and 2 in Boros, which is red and white. But here's a brief summary of his history. He started out an albino outcast, with only his brother protecting him. He started down the warpath when his brother was assassinated. He couldn't avenge his brother because the killer had been manipulated by someone else, and the killer had killed that person. So he just had to hold that L, honestly. He did get dragged into a fight with Nicobolus at that time, and he won. Johnny's one of the few Planeswalkers alive who can say that they beat Nicobolus, like head up. Nicobolus got jumped by like 5 people and whooped them, but Johnny was able to hold his own and win. So you got to put some respect on his name. He befriended Elspeth, was there when she died for the first time, started wearing her cloak, in her honor. He helped get the Planeswalkers together to fight Bolas, and their side won that encounter as well. So I think Johnny the difference maker right there. He did fall to the Phyrexians and became a sleeper agent, which is showcased in this card. He killed longtime friend and red Planeswalker Jyra. He also killed Sheldred before he was returned to normal. Johnny has a special place in MTG history. Also, to note, Nicobolus himself actually pays close attention to a Johnny. Whenever he is working on plans, he makes sure to distract the Johnny with something else. That's how much respect they have for each other. They see the threat. Now, this Johnny is the one that I chose to represent, Sleeper Agent, because I believe it is the strongest in a more mid-range style of deck. Now, there are others that will work in any type of deck you want to make. He also has plenty of all white Planeswalkers as well. So like he is in red and white, green and white. So this one is a 4 mana cost, or it could be 3, because Phyrexian green/white completed. You can pay 2 life or green and white for that mana symbol right there. His +1 is reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature or a Planeswalker card, put it into your hand. Otherwise, you may put it on the bottom of your library. His -3, distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among up to 3 target creatures. They gain vigilance until end of turn. And his -6, you get an emblem with whenever you cast a creature or a Planeswalker spell, target opponent gets 2 poison counters. And you already know, if a player gets 10 poison counters, they just lose the game. And that's why I think he is one of the best Celestial Planeswalkers out there. And now it's time for the risk assessment. Strengths, permanence. This color is the most permanent based and protects them. It's ready built, means simple archetype packages within it. Responses, has great mass and target removal for permanence. Weaknesses. The first one, permanence. The focus on permanence can lead to a blowout. Number 2, it's a one-trick pony. It attacks on only 1 level, and stack/remove interaction can break it down on multiple. Number 3, stalling. When this combination stalls out, it is done with little ability to start again. Things to remember. Take note of your impactful plays, and know there will be no easy wins with such a grindy color combination. Symmetrical effects offered hinder you as well as your opponent. Card draw and filtering are archetype focus, so be aware of that when you're building, because you may be banking on getting card draw from something, but if you don't actually slant your deck towards some of the ready build archetypes, you're gonna find card draw kind of limited. Okay, people, notable tribes. Once again, these are the tribes I feel are complemented the most by this color combination. Number 1, elephants. Uniqueness, keywords, and medium power. I'm actually issuing this as a challenge, all you deck builders out there. I would love to see a list of a really good elephant deck. Number 2, cats. They have the lords, the tribal synergies, the varied power, artifacts energy, the life gain, the evasion, and so much more. Like, cats are the vampires of this combination. Then there's elves. And yes, elves are a powerhouse in green alone, but Celestial elves are a thing. They have the lords, the token generation, the life gain, the go wide, the go tall, the mana ramping, and once again, so much more. And these are the notable tribes that I feel are best represented by this color combination. Well, listener, if you've gotten this far, let's see if we can figure this out. So Selesnya is known as a jack of all trades, master of none. He has all the interactions in white, so it's hard to justify going into green. It doesn't present a fast clock, and your opponents will go over you if you take too long. Shifting to a better fight one side of the meta makes you weak to the opposite. And this is the phrase I found the most often during my research. Silver bullet. And that is exactly what Selesnya is. It is the silver bullet to any deck. Green and white offer you the ability to stop any strategy out there, but you cannot do it all in one deck. So learning your meta is, the biggest part of this. But that's the cop-out answer. As I've gone through the years of Magic cards, trying to figure out exactly how we can make Selesnya the top deck, be it's one thing that keeps coming up is like there's no must kills or unfair cards. It's great on the battlefield, but the game isn't won on the battlefield nowadays. Its combat damage isn't the way some of the strongest decks win. And coming a little bias here, part of me just thinks that some of these meta decks, some of these top format decks have really broken the spirit of their opponents. No one's going into this thinking, hey, how can I beat that? There used to be decks like when I was like trying to compete and stuff that were anti-meta. There were decks that were just designed to beat everything that was the strongest in format. And I believe that is where Selesnya shines the best. Your strategy can also have you win, but it can also stop your opponent from winning. In the next slide, I'll spotlight some cards that I think are the way to get through. Tips and advice. A resource investment is needed for Selesnya to have a chance. And I believe Trostani is the way. 2. Use protection spells to constantly back up your permanents. And 3. Anti-meta is where Selesnya shines best, so a wide knowledge pool is needed. Now I showcase 4 cards up here. 3 of them are Selesnya. 1 of them fits in the deck. Number 1, Trostani, 3 Whispers. Tap 1 in the green, target creature gains Death Touch until end of turn. Tap a green or white, target creature gains Vigilance until end of turn. Tap 2 and 1 white, target creature gains Double Strike until end of turn. That is a resource investment that helps your creature survive different combat situations. It gives them a way to kill threats that need killing while still protecting itself. That is a good investment to me. Then there's a Guardian Paladin. As long as you put 1 or more +1/+1 counters on a creature this turn, Guardian Paladin has Trample and Lifelink. Tap 3, target creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it gains Trample and Lifelink until end of turn. And then we have Kutsu, Malamet Exemplar. States your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control, each with power greater than its base power, deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. There's your card draw. You punt from Guardian Paladin. You combat trick from Trostani. Then there's the 4th card, Boseiju, who shelters all. Enters the battlefield tap, but it says, tap it, pay 2 life, add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool. If that mana is spent on an instant or sorcery, that spell can't be countered by spells or abilities. That's your way to continue to play protection spells in your deck. And this, I believe, is the game plan that you need to go into with Selesnya to become the top deck. Now you see that little thing down at the bottom there? I will be releasing a deck list on a later date, and we're gonna see if we can make Selesnya the top deck. I've been thinking about, putting some gameplay of me playing Magic on the channel. If you would like to see that, please comment down below, let me know. If you want to help me make the deck, also feel free, add a comment, let me know what you think, or if you're interested, and I'll reach out to you. Well, listeners, we've made it to another edition of our dual color breakdown, and I just want to say thank you for all the support my videos have been getting, all the new subscribers, and I hope you all are enjoying this diversity of content. I will be alternating between the color breakdowns and the playstyle spotlighting. If you prefer one or the other, please feel free to leave a comment, telling me what you like, subscribe, liking, sharing the content with others. For those of you who are enjoying the more spiritual topics, I have more video of those coming out as well. Just thank you all for all the support. And you all remember, live your best life and be well. This is Ender signing out here at Indy 5.18. Goodbye.